recording's now started, finally. So we're going to design that Oakdale Fast Med. Clearly, this is a made-up company, but the database scenarios are real. And we're going to walk through the designs, and hopefully you get a better understanding for how to design these things. Now, I'm going to repeat what I said on Wednesday. You're going to be about 60 to 80% correct in your first step, which isn't bad. Also, there are opinions in database design. I have mine, you'll have yours. So when I critique yours, I'll critique with my opinion. As you get better at this, you'll go your own route with design, but you're going to find that these databases look the same. They're going to have junction tables, they're going to have lookup tables, they're going to have primary keys and foreign keys and one-to-many relationships. They all tend to be the same once you step away. When you can see that, you're much better off in the design world. You find that database design becomes easy, not hard. So again, I don't have a stack of data here to wade through, which is good, because I hate wading through data. But let's, we can look at this from a data point of view. We can look at this from a table point of view. I know some things we're going to need, so let's start with some table ideas. I know we need a customer table. And I know cost ID. Right, so I've got a beginning up here, and I have a whole bunch of stuff wrong with this. There's at least 2 things wrong with this table. Now, you can just play. You can type along if you want, or you can just watch, Katie. It's your call. I'm going to make so many changes to this that it's probably best just to watch. All right, so somebody tell me, if this were my database, what are at least one thing wrong with it? Perfect. I got 2 great answers right off the top. This is right. Customer name. This needs a customer first name, customer last name. Mason and Will just tag team, and you can have multiple complaints. So putting a complaint here means a customer can only have one complaint ever. They can only come in with a headache. Next week they come in with, a compound fracture on their arm. Sorry, you had a headache last night because it's all can track. So complaint can't go here. Complaint becomes a lookup or a junction or some other type of relationship because you can have one customer with many complaints. Likewise, customer address is a whole bunch of stuff. There are 2 schools of thought here. School 1, where you put like street, city, zip, and phone number here. That's school of thought 1. School of thought 2, I'm just going to highlight this, is to have another table called addresses. Take this stuff and put it here. What's the benefit of doing it the second way with this address table? Great. A person can have multiple addresses. If you've moved in your life, you've had multiple addresses. So you can make that call. There are times where you need this. Like if I'm doing a debt collection scenario, I want to know everywhere this person's lived. If I am, cutting your grass, I need to know where you live now. So you make the call, and both calls are correct. With me? Likewise, I could do a phone table. And get rid of them here. So now customers multiple phones, which they do. Cell, home, work, etc. So you make the call as to what data you need to track. Typically, a business like a medical facility would do this. A business like a lawn care, dog walking service, hair salon would probably go this route. Both are valid, depends on your needs. I'm going to go the complicated route just because we can, because we're gods and goddesses of this. Primary key, primary key, primary key. Foreign key, foreign key. I'm not going to draw them here. Notice I have not typed things like a phone number or an actual address. I'm using the column names. A lot of you, when you start to design this, will come at me with addresses and complaints. That's wrong. You don't want data here. You want designs. So I need to also track the people that do the work. These are my employees. All tables must have a primary key. I'll call it a fee. So if you come into my doctor's office and you see the nurse practitioner, it costs you $70. I'm making this number up. If you decide not to see the nurse practitioner because you want to see a quote real doctor unquote, and I've heard that, it costs you $150. It's your call. If you're just seeing the medical assistant who's check your stitches, is $30. With me, different employees have different fees. And I'll put it in here as a flat fee for an employee. I made that decision. You could have a scenario where it's a fee per service or a fee per hour, and then your database design is a little different. But I'm going with a nice flat fee. You come in, it gets charged. Now, if you go to the doctor's office, as someone said, you have multiple complaints, we'll deal with that. But while you're there, we're going to do a whole bunch of things. I'm going to take your blood pressure. I'm going to take your temperature. I'm going to do an x-ray. I'm going to set an arm. I'm going to do a lot of things. Of service. Okay, so you might start thinking like a database person now. You could probably start thinking I can junction between customer, employee, and service. And that's exactly right. I can start doing this. Service rendered ID, customer ID, employee ID, service ID. With here, I can get the cost of the employee doing the job. I can get the cost of the service doing the job. I could list all of my customers, and I can come up with a list of services done to a customer each day. Okay, anybody see something I'm missing here? This is at least two things. Location, no emp ID and phone. This is a PKFK. Okay. All right, so let me do these one at a time. Location. Let's assume I've got one office. Make my life easy. If I didn't have one office, I would create a location table over here and add that there. But Mason, I'm going to keep our life easy. We've got one office. Will says no emp and phone ID, so employees can't have phones. That's a good point. Okay. Same thing for this. Okay, so there are a couple ways to solve the emp ID in the phone. You can, this is unorthodox, but I could just do this. and link customer's address by cust ID to person and emp ID to person as well. And that solves your suggestion. It opens up a problem because now employees have a harder time being customers. And I repeat data, but that's a minor issue. But I like this solution. That's good. So Mason's correct. Generalize the person. Lee, you guys nailed it. Good job. I didn't see your answers, but I did that. So you guys did a good job. Could I put these together as a person table? Could I merge these guys? Yeah, I could probably merge those and just put a person table. Let's see if I can come up with that. A person. And type be like a Boolean field. Yeah, Liz is correct. That's a really good idea. That's something definitely missing here. So you could make type a lookup or yes, no, or employee, customer. And if they're an employee, we have a fee and a title. If they're not, we just don't have fee and title. And it's okay to have blank data. That would be okay. You could also have an employee table that we list. I like this better. We need to type there. So now let's get rid of customers. I'm going to leave them as customer ID and emp ID down here. We'll just get the joins right. Okay, so nice job, guys, coming up with a better design on that. When people design databases, they tend to do them in groups because there's so much going on. And this looks like a pretty decently designed database so far. But now we need to come up with a list concept of date of visits. We'll just call it a visit table. Visit ID. We'll have the date in there, time they walk in, person ID, also known as a customer. And perhaps we'll have the complaints. Complaint would be at some type of text field. Yeah, I'd have a lot of room for complaint. So now I need to add visit ID to another table. What other table do I want to add visit ID to? Yeah, I put it in service, and that actually solves that problem, Katie, you just asked. If I put visit ID here, I know who's performing a service. I missed that, Lee. I'm sorry. All right, so at this point, we have a pretty decent layout. Is it perfect? We don't know. We won't know till we implement it. And we start putting data in, and we start to use it. We go, oh, crap, we don't have this. So then we come back and change it. So designing these things is an incremental process. When we do this in college or in, for fun, we design it, we make it work, and we go on. In reality, you'll spend weeks making sure your database is perfect. Because once that database is built and coded against, and you have APIs pulling against that database, and you got all sorts of stuff in there, changing it is a challenge. Imagine for a moment, just a moment, that someone says they don't like F name, and they want this to be called first name. You have 47 programs that read out of this database, all using the field F name. You got to go find them and fix them all. So changing these things once they're built and implemented, it's a serious decision. If you go to work in large corporations, especially old ones like PNC Bank, US Steel, Federated Investors, they have some databases that have been around since the 70s and 80s. And they look like Frankenstein, because they've had, 400 or 500 pieces of programming code beaten up against this database for decades. And they can't go back and change the old code for a couple reasons. One, nobody knows how it works anymore. Yeah, they might be written in COBOL. And so they add stuff on and it starts to become nasty. And then the database update becomes, a 3-year project. So when you design these things, you get them right the first time. And you test 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 before you move on. Somebody's talking to me. I love when Discord tells me I have a message, but doesn't tell me which one of the channels I'm subscribed to. It gives me the message. So nice of Discord. It should pop up and say, yo, Joe's talking to you in anime. That would be nice. Yeah, exactly. Where is it? It's not there. I'm only subscribed to, 7 channels right now on my professional account. All right, I'm whining. All right, so let's pretend that this is perfect, okay? Let's build this thing. Now, you all know how to build databases. Create database, blah. Create table, blah. As, blah, blah, blah. But we want to build an ER diagram. Because when I go to show this to a boss, unless my boss is a database geek like us, they're going to look at this and go, So we want to build an ER diagram. And typically you build the ER diagram before you build the database, because the ER diagram helps you see relationships. So I'm going to have you guys go to a website. And this website is called lucid.app. Okay, it's a free site. Well, it's a pay site, but they've got a decent paywall. Freemium, I think they call it. Log in with whatever you like to log in with. I use Google. Give you a minute to get in. It might require some, yes, I wish to do this. No, I don't want to do this crap. I'll give you a minute to get there. This used to be called Lucid Chart. Doesn't matter. Yeah, this guy pops up all over the place. Lucid is one of 700 tools online. You can draw an ER diagram. It's not the only one. If you decide that you hate this one, you find another one, have at it. I'm not married to this thing. I'm just choosing this one because it works well and it has some decent features. If you Google around, say, how do I build an ER chart online, you'll find enough answers to keep you busy for a week. Give me a thumbs up when you're ready, please, or a yes or something. Let me know when you're ready. You can skip that and just get to new. Looks like we're pretty much good. 8 people saying yes, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, that'd be 14. Yeah, we're good to go. Okay, so we're screen similar to this. If it's not exactly like mine, it's close enough. I've used this for a while, so I'm sure my screen is a little bit different than your brand new screen. Find new. And you can create from template, but I just do blank. Either one's fine. The problem with template is it gives you a pre-built design that you have to then adjust. You can also import from different locations, but I'm going to do blank. Give the same good name, like the free version of Lucidchart, you can have 3 documents. If you want to export them once you're done and don't keep them up there, that's fine. All right. This is a typical drawing tool. On the left-hand side of the shapes you can use. Up here are your typical text tools, a variety of stuff in the menu. I'm going to add shapes. I'm going to pick ER diagram, or entity relationship. I'm going to use that selected shape. You can have multiple here. Like if you want to play with Azure, AWS, it's all in here. Good stuff. Android mockups. I mean, this is a decent site. But I'm just going to use ER diagrams to get these 4 in here. Basically 4 different entities. As you go further to the right, you get more information. This is just fields. This is key in field, type in field, key, field, and type. So I'm going to use that one. Drag it over. I'm going to start building my ER diagram. All right, I'm going to build the link between person, addresses, and phone, just because it's easy. Okay, I'm not going to do all of this for now, because once you see how to do a couple, the rest is overkill, and I'd rather you spend more time working than me talking. All right, so I need to build person first because it's the lookup to addresses. I know this because it's primary key and foreign here. So I need a, if you look at this, I have a 1, 2, 3, 4 field table. So I'll make this 4. I don't know what the limit is. I'm going to fill in the blanks here. This would be DK, person ID, int. I can't read it because it's too small. Just click on it and resize it. Okay. Next one, I don't have a key. I've got F name. And I'm picking, notice I'm typing SQL Server data types here. There are some other design tools that actually let you pick those in a drop. Visio does that, but Visio is $250. I just made that chart 5 up. If you play around games, you can like fill in with colors, you know, unnecessary, cool, but unnecessary. Something like with a schema like we had in AdventureWorks, that would be what you'd want to use as colors for. So now I'm going to draw up my address and phone. Address is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Pull same 3-column table over. Make it a little bigger. Make it 6. If you run into a limitation on Lucidchart about sizes because it's free, then just deal with the limitation and just tell me, oh, I have 4 more fields here and I just couldn't fit it. I'm not going to be that picky. And I've got the stuff in here, which is person ID. That works fine too, Lee. Just don't get too creative. You'll see why in a minute. Person ID, street, city, state, zip. We know this is a foreign key. Now, when you're setting this up, make sure you get the names right. Person ID and person ID match, foreign key, primary key, type match. I've got street, city, state, zip. Pick the data types you want. Now I'm going to draw some ER diagrams. It's primary in person, it's foreign in address. So I'm going to drag this little box next here to person and hit the little dot next to my foreign key. It gives you the Oracle-like crow feet diagrams where I've got one to many, one to many. All right, I'm going to do the same thing now with phone. I'm going to pull this guy over here. Make it a little bigger. It's a 1, 2, 3, 4. So I've got PK, phone ID, and this is int. I don't know how big phone number needs to be. That seems excessive. I have person ID and type in there. And that's int. If you can just watch, you're okay. 12 including hyphens, thank you. And again, build my join. So Will says Lucid's a pain. That's okay. If it's a pain, draw on something else. But you're going to see why I like this. When you go to your assignments today, which I'll shut up here in a couple minutes and let you work, this is what you're going to show me, and I'm going to critique it. You just have to share your screen and show, and I'll critique it. I want to see your ER diagrams. Try to get everything on this one screen if you can. If not, we'll scroll back and forth. A simple rule about ER diagrams is don't do crap like this. Don't have that cross there whenever possible. Now, you're going to like this last part. When I say it's good to go, when I say it's good to go, you're going to implement it. Remember, well, I'm going to have my son chase you around the classroom with a spoon when we get back on campus. So when I say it's good to go, your next part of the assignment is going to be to implement it. And you're going, oh, crap, I got to type this again. No, you don't. See this export button? Pick SQL Server. Yeah, and then it gives you the SQL, copy to clipboard, come over to your database, wherever it is. Which is this one. Paste in there. And as long as you spelled your types right and, got the keys right, it'll work for a shot. If you missed a line or something, you might have to tweak that. But if you got that diagram correct, execute, bam, you have tables. Lucid is not the only database diagramming tool in the world that does that. But it does also allow you to import your database from SQL. So those of you that can't draw ER diagrams in SQL Server, you can import